For pretty much all of history, Greenland was just this massive frozen island at the top of the world. But all of a sudden, it's become this huge geopolitical hotspot. So let's dive in and figure out exactly why everyone is suddenly so obsessed with this icy giant.
So, picture this. It's late 2025. President Trump has been re-elected, and he drops a bombshell that just rocks the diplomatic world. He says, talking about Greenland, we have to have it. And let me be clear, this wasn't some off-the-cuff remark. His administration later confirmed, nope, this is a serious strategic objective. It's all about national security.
So what's really going on? Why the sudden interest? Is this about money? Is it about military power? Or is there something else at play? That's the puzzle we're going to solve today. And the answer? Well, it's a mix of all three. Military strategy, a modern-day gold rush, and the incredible will of the Greenlandic people.
To understand what's happening with Greenland, you really have to understand what's happening in the Arctic as a whole. As the planet warms and the ice melts, this once remote wilderness is turning into a brand new stage for a rivalry between the big players, the US, Russia, and China. And Greenland? It's sitting right in the middle of it all, like the most important piece on the chessboard.
Okay, and this is where it gets really fascinating. Each of these powers has a totally different playbook. On one side, you've got the US and Russia, the Arctic nations. They're playing a defense game, right? Securing their northern borders, dusting off old Cold War bases. But then you've got China. They come in with this clever bit of branding, calling themselves a near-Arctic state. Why? So they can push their huge economic plan, a polar Silk Road for global trade. It's a classic clash, really. Military security versus economic ambition.
All right, so let's tackle the first piece of this puzzle, the military angle. Because believe it or not, Greenland has been absolutely essential to American defense strategy for a long, long time.
Say hello to Pitifix Space Base. You might know it by its old name, Thule Air Base. This place is way up there, just 750 miles from the North Pole. And don't let its remote location fool you. This is one of the most critical military bases the U.S. has anywhere on the planet.
So what makes it so important? Well, from this frozen lookout post, the U.S. Space Force has eyes on the sky. It's our early warning system. If a ballistic missile were launched over the pole, which is the shortest and most likely path from Russia, this is where we'd see it first. It also tracks pretty much everything in orbit and acts as the northern shield for all of North America. It's a key part of NORAD, the joint U.S.-Canada command that keeps watch for any and all aerial threats.
And that location also brings us to something called the GIUK Gap. It sounds like a military code name, right? It just stands for the ocean between Greenland, Iceland, and the UK. During the Cold War, this was the choke point for keeping the Soviet Navy contained. And guess what? It's just as vital today for keeping tabs on Russian ships and subs in the North Atlantic.
Okay, so that's the military side. But there's another huge piece to this puzzle, money. A massive economic pull. We're talking about a new kind of polar gold rush, and it's all happening because of one single factor that's reshaping the Arctic. The ice is melting.
You see, as that ice melts away, it's uncovering two major prizes that have the world's attention. First, a treasure trove of natural resources that were impossible to get to before. And second, brand new shipping lanes that could completely change how goods move around the globe. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's happening right now.
And the amount of potential wealth here is just mind-boggling. Greenland is thought to be sitting on huge deposits of rare earth minerals. And these are the elements that are absolutely critical for, well, everything in our modern world, from your phone to the most advanced defense technology. But here's the real kicker for Western nations. This isn't just about getting rich. It's about breaking free from their reliance on China, which pretty much controls the entire global market for these minerals right now. It's a massive security issue.
And this is where China's big vision comes into play. They're calling it the Polar Silk Road. The idea is to create a whole new network of shipping routes straight through the Arctic. Imagine being able to shave days, even weeks off the trip between Asia and Europe, completely bypassing choke points like the Suez Canal. It's a huge piece of their even bigger global project, the Belt and Road Initiative.
But hold on. We've talked about the US, Russia, China. We've talked military strategy and economics. But what about the people who actually call Greenland home? Their voice is probably the most important one in this whole story, and it's the one that's too often ignored.
And to really get their perspective, you have to wrap your head around this number, 56,000. That's the entire population of Greenland. Just 56,000 people, mostly Inuit, living on the world's largest island. And now, they're the ones having to deal with the world's biggest superpowers knocking on their door. And make no mistake, these 56,000 people are on a clear and steady path to full independence. Just look at the timeline. For decades, they've been methodically gaining more and more control from Denmark. The 2009 Self-Government Act was a huge step, officially recognizing their right to choose their own destiny. And it's not just talk. They recently drafted a constitution for a brand new independent Greenland. And if you want to understand their mindset in a single phrase, this is it. It's literally the title of their foreign policy strategy. Nothing about us without us. I mean, you can't get much clearer than that. It's a powerful message to the entire world. When it comes to Greenland's future, the only people who get a say are the people of Greenland.
There is a catch, though, a big one. To be truly independent, you have to be able to pay your own bills. But right now, Greenland's economy depends on a hefty annual payment from Denmark. So the billion-dollar question for them is, how do we become economically self-sufficient without just swapping our dependence on Denmark for a dependence on, say, the US or China? That's the tightrope they have to walk.
So let's pull all this together, shall we? You've got intense military posturing, a high-stakes economic race, and a passionate local independence movement, all crashing together in this one remote, icy place. What you get is a really tense, really unpredictable situation.
And when you boil it all down, the conflict is pretty straightforward. For the big global powers, Greenland is a strategic asset on a global chessboard. It's a prize to be won. But for the people who live there, it's their home, it's their culture, it's their future, and it's their right to decide what happens to it.
And this isn't just some academic discussion either. Things have gotten very real very fast. President Trump hasn't just talked about wanting the island, he's reportedly threatened to put economic pressure on European allies to get his way. But the response from Greenland and Denmark? It was immediate, it was united, and it was crystal clear. Greenland is not for sale. They called the whole idea absurd. So all of this leaves us with a really big looming question, not just for Greenland, but for the entire Arctic. As the ice continues to melt and the stakes, both strategic and economic, get higher and higher, are the world's great powers going to respect Greenland's right to choose its own path? Or are we watching the high north become the setting for the next major global conflict?